Welcome to Team Swampert. As you can tell, this is not the usual Pokemon Academy video because it's not Pokemon Academy. Today I'm doing something very different, simply because I want to try out something new and explore instead of just doing the same old videos. So today we're doing my Pokemon team for every region. Not really, because unfortunately due to money, I have not been able to play the Johto game, so I will intend to play Heart Gold or Soul Silver eventually in the future. If you'd like to see a Let's Play on that, or like to see a Let's Play of any other Pokemon game, do let me know. Unfortunately, I do not have access to a Game Boy or to the old Pokemon games, so any Pokemon game that I would make release will most likely either be on the DS, the 3DS, or the Switch. But if you want to see a Let's Play of a Pokemon game, please let me know. If you want to see a Let's Play of a different game you know of, also let me know. Again, even though I am a Pokemon channel, I am happy to explore something as a non-Pokemon, because that's what I like to do. I really want to expand my channel out, so it's a massive thank you to everybody who has already subscribed to the channel and likes the videos and views and takes the time out to view. It will be quite a long one, not used to that on my channel. It is going to be via a PowerPoint presentation because I do not have any crazy editing abilities, so it's going to be something basic and simple. It's mainly talking to you and explaining why I picked the teams, and also criticising some of the Pokemon because there are some shocks in my teams. Of course, when it isn't there in Pokemon. Of course, as a kid growing up, it was always a dream when I watched the anime just to play the actual games, and eventually I did start. I of course started on Omega Ruby as my first ever Pokemon game, and that's why Swampert became my mascot. Oh, by the way, to heads up, by the way, I mean my Pokemon team, I mean the team I used for my first Elite Four Pokemon League challenge. I am not talking about the team I used for the rematch or post game. This is a team that I won with against the champion. So today are 11 teams, so I hope you enjoy. So moving on. Welcome to my Let's Go team. We're starting off in Let's Go. We're starting off in each region specifically. So it's the first Kanto playthrough I play from a mainstream Pokemon game. Of course, what I'll keep ahead of now. Every Pokemon game I have played, I did not watch a video beforehand or see some tutorial walkthrough. I went in blind, so I didn't know about the Pokemon's evolutions or what it turned into, which is one of the major issues later on, as you'll see, of some of the shocks. But going to a game I actually really enjoyed the mechanic of, which is in the Pokemon Go mechanic. The Pidgeot you see is the Pidgeot I used after I lost 2 shiny Pidgeys that fled in Viridian Forest. I was broken, so I ended up settling for a normal Pidgey. My team was over leveled for Brock, but you know, that's what you get. So the team, I'll basically break it down for you. So Pikachu, of course, was the first Pokemon you were given, and I loved it. I loved how different it was to your usual Pikachu. It's not, you know, I love the idea. I really had to do make another Let's Go game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Looking at from Let's Go perspective, I think my favourite Pokemon in this team has to be Nidoking. I just adored how actually strong it was and how accessible Moonstones were so early on. I think I was around level 30. I evolved my Nidorino into Nidoking. My team for Brock is actually the first 4 Pokemon, not directly them of course, because 3 of them would not have been that high level. I mainly used Nidoran male, Bulbasaur, Pidgey and Pikachu. Charizard of course came in later, because of course it was not like you could get given a Charizard. Of course had to fill up your Pokedex. I of course caught Bulbasaur in Viridian Forest. So they made up my team for most of the playthrough. Mostly, I don't remember the top of my head now. This game was quite fun. I don't think I ever had a major challenge. So I very much enjoyed this game, very much a lot. Again, Lapras was brought in the very end of my journey. No, I think it was more around the 7th going into 8th gym. I think just after Cinnabar Island, I think I got Lapras because I wanted a water type Pokemon in the team that could deal with dragons and ground types, and because Lapras had the ice typing, it made things so much easier, especially if Atlantis Dragonite. Charizard, it just wouldn't be a Kanto playthrough without a Charizard. So Let's Go definitely was a fun game to play. Moving on to my Pokemon Omega Ruby save. Now this was the official team I used when I first played through back all these years ago, around when it came out. So I think this game came out in 2013, 2014. So it was about 20, I think about almost Christmas 2014. I got Pokemon Omega Ruby for Christmas from my family, and I fell in love with Swampert. It probably was the most strongest Pokemon I've ever used. It was bulky, and the experience when I was younger, speaking from as a 19-year-old now, I probably wouldn't be so screamy and happy as it was back then. Swampert for me, it was my final Pokemon against Steven. His Mega Metagross, Swampert was slow, Torrent kicked in, it went down to 1 HP of happiness, and Mega Swampert used Earthquake, and I just clutched up. But nothing against the rest of my team, because again, massive shout outs to Slacking, who is massive throughout the journey, especially when it was a Vigoroth. I found Slacking to probably be very much the Pokemon who especially with Torrent, became a bit frustrating, but actually its access to moves like Brick Break and Chip Away and Retaliate made it very much a powerhouse, because it could not only could it take it, but it could dish out even stronger moves. I would say probably the biggest letdown of the team probably would be Manectric, because it would be one-shotted very quickly unless it was Mega Evolved. But nothing against Manectric, because again, it was a part of my original team. If I had to play through again, I would take Manectric over the Pikachu given, simply because Manectric had a Mega Evolution. Gallade, I ended up having to recapture routes very late on. I was about to challenge the Elite Four for the first time, and by the way, I did not challenge the Elite Four when it first tried. I was much younger, I had no clue what I was doing. It was about my 3rd or 4th attempt, and before my first attempt, I found out that Gallade was available. Of course, from Wally tells you about getting the Dawn, he gives you the Dawnstone. So I ended up getting a Rumps, training it up hyper aggressively, literally just basically switching it back and forth, EXP share, you name it, getting into a Gallade. So it was probably level 46, we have announced about in their 53s, 54s, but it did clutch up a few occasions, especially against the Dark type user. And then in Ghost type, I gave it, I think, Shadow Cut, which massively helped out a lot. Again, and then of course Groudon there. I think wouldn't have been a Pokemon we played through without Groudon. Presseat Blades was just so elite of a move. I loved it. I loved that it could tackle users. I loved it in double battles. My favourite battle style back then was triple battles. And I ended up doing the most stupidest thing ever. I gave Swampert all water type moves in a triple battle once. Not realising when Groudon was out, Swampert could not use a single move because Groudon's primal ability made it impossible for water type moves to do anything. I did eventually, of course, give him ground and rock type moves and Ice Beam, but lessons learned when I was much younger. Latios, of course, was my dragon type before Rayquaza, of course, better in the post game. So mainly I relied on pretty much Swampert as my dragon killer, really. But again, Latios was still very powerful, and its Mega Evolution and its mechanic in the game with the Eon Flute, I just adored for Pokemon Omega Ruby. Moving on to a Pokemon Alpha Sapphire now. Alpha Sapphire, again, much more playthrough I play later. I wanted a different experience to Pokemon Omega Ruby. I didn't want to have, oh, let's go Swampert. I wanted to go a very different team. So I still had the 2 legendary Pokemon they give you in Latias and Kyogre, but primarily before Kyogre was a Sharpedo. I want to use Blaziken. I used the Pikachu they gave you. Gardevoir was in the team because I didn't want to use another Gallade and have to train it up, or have to keep saying no to it constantly trying to evolve into Gardevoir. So I decided to choose Gardevoir instead. Gardevoir was pretty much my Dragon Killer with Latias. Of course, we didn't really have an Ice type move, and so having the Fairy type come into Gen 6 made it so much easier to beat the Dragon type Elite Four member. Again, I think playing for Alpha Sapphire, I think I found it a very different game because I wasn't using Swampert, and it was a very different experience because you of course had to learn Surf, Dive, and Waterfall, which made things very annoying because HM moves bothered me. I didn't like having to have a HM move. Of course, they did remove this eventually. I, of course, however, ended up still loving this team. It was probably still amazing. I love catching the legendaries in the post game, but this team, I think, handled Elite Four better because, of course, as being mature, I was 18 at the time playing Alpha Sapphire, so I was very much more experienced. I'm not a pro. I'm no expert at Pokemon, but I'm very well knowledged in typings and in IV training. And Aggron, I've never used in a playthrough team before, or even caught before. Most times I'll just have it for the Pokedex, and then it would just sit in a PC box or be Wonder Traded. And I gave it a go, and it was phenomenal. Its Mega Evolution surprised me a lot, but again, I adored it very much. Not really much to say there because Alpha Sapphire and Mega Ruby are pretty much the same game, just with some differences. But moving on to my Sinnoh playthrough. Now, I played Platinum about 3-4 years ago now, and the Torterra you see, which is the top left Pokemon above Lucario, was nicknamed Sprog, with my grandpa's nickname for it. And it's stuck with, and I always, whenever I talk about my favourite generation to play through in a playthrough team, I always talk about Torterra, because I know a lot of people say he's so slow, he isn't that great. I actually loved him. He was so great for the first few gyms, and he made himself known that he was going to be the powerhouse. Being able to every time I send him out, it was like, you can do it, Sprog. Sprog for the win. Of course, he did faint sometimes, but he was still a massive part of this team. Of course, Platinum was the first ever Sinnoh playthrough. I didn't play Diamond and Pearl, so I was very part of that person who played, I think, the best version, as I always say a lot. Floatzel and Togekiss. Togekiss, of course, wasn't a fairy type. Now, of course, when I played Pokemon Platinum, I, of course, played it when Gen 6, of course, was out, and fairy typing was there. So, of course, I didn't realise Togekiss wasn't a fairy type. So when Togekiss got wiped out by a dragon type move, my confusion was left until I checked and realised fairy typing was added in Gen 6. I made a lot of mistakes in my Pokemon journey, and one of them was mistaking Togekiss to being a fairy type in Gen 4. Of course, it became fairy type in Gen 6, but again, Togekiss was still amazing, and the fact it can learn Aura Sphere later on in playthroughs, it's mind-blowing. Another Pokemon I think I adored was Lucario and Garchomp. Lucario and Garchomp were probably the strongest members of my team, being the big hitters, the Pokemon who I would probably rely on the most. Cynthia, I think, again, I had to replay Cynthia so many times, but this was a team I settled with on my victory team. Luxray was brilliant. I'm still questioning, I think Luxray should be a dark type. I don't know if anyone else agrees, but looks like for me, it looks like a dark electric type, and it's always annoying to see it get eliminated by a psychic type move or ghost type move, because it really was a powerhouse when it used Crunch, and it deserved a bit of stab to it. And by stab, I mean, I don't know if anyone knows play Pokemon, but a stab move is a move where it's typing of the move and the Pokemon type matches up. For example, if Floatzel used the move Hydro Pump, that's a stab move. So just to get a heads up there. Some of you may already know that, but just for anyone who doesn't know, that's what it represents. Continuing about Pokemon Platinum, of course, I think as you'll probably see a lot of my teams, Lucario will feature a lot. I do apologise, it's just I love Lucario, it's my second favourite Pokemon. He's also always one of the hosts in Pokemon Academy and in my Pokemon series before. But continuing on to Brilliant Diamond, as you can see there are two sprites here in the Shiny Feraligatr and Shiny Weavile. These were transferred in by a Pokemon Home. These are not obtainable, well Weavile is obtainable, but Feraligatr is not until post-game. So I traded one into the game via Pokemon Go through Pokemon Home. It was my shiny Croconaw I brought in, and also a shiny Sneasel I evolved in Pokemon Sword and Shield. It wasn't a Let's Play team, I just trained it up and then sent it back in. Again, I want a different team to my playthrough of Pokemon Platinum and bar Lucario, because it just had to, it wouldn't be, I don't think anyone can play Sinnoh without Lucario. He is the best fighting and steel type in the game. Steel type of course being more Dialga, but Lucario was brilliant. This went way easier than Platinum did, which are quite surprising. I know a lot of people said they hated how difficult it is with Steel Elite 4 being IV and EV training, having items. Well, Pokemon, I think, and a lot of people might question, it's probably Pachirisu in the bottom left. Pachirisu, I didn't want to have Luxray because I wanted something different, and Pachirisu actually was probably the biggest team member of this team. It would sacrifice itself through being able to get a paralysis using Nuzzle, or even just being training that special attack in IV. It just meant that it wasn't just going to be a walk in the park for a lot of the gym leaders and train and Elite Four. It meant they're going to have to deal with their Pokemon being constantly paralysed, and even use Volt Switch as well to switch out of there, just so then Pachirisu could then come back out and use Nuzzle because it was so fast. Again, I know another type clashing with the fighting types, but it wouldn't. I wanted to use Infernape. I love Infernape. Again, another on the host of Pokemon Academy. A lot of my inspiration for my Pokemon came from my Let's Play team. Only Snivy wasn't, because again that was one of my friend's favourite Pokemon when she took over a few videos back a long time ago now. Good few years I think, when she did a few videos for me when I was unfortunately really ill. But I am absolutely enjoy Brilliant Diamond. I don't have the game anymore. I gave it to a friend to try and for them to have a Let's Go on. But if you want to see a Let's Play Brilliant Diamond, I'm happy to get the game back. We can do a Let's Play on it and see what team changes. But that was my Brilliant Diamond Let's Play. Moving on to Pokemon White 2 now. White 2 was a playthrough I did, I think it was just after my Platinum playthrough. And I loved this game. It was probably my favourite DS, so non-3D game of them all. As much as Platinum was great, I don't think in top the effect White 2 had. Unova was an amazing region. I think a very underrated region. I think the anime does lay it down, but I loved the team. I really wanted to sort of emphasise the Unova Pokemon, and that's why I went with 4 Unova Pokemon here. I love Samurai. One of the massive things for me was, especially Quarantine Swampert, I am a water type lover. I love water types. There's some questionable water types, but I love water types. And when I saw the starters, I picked Oshawott. I saw in the anime, I saw how cute it was, and it turns into probably such a strong Pokemon. And I love the move Razor Shell. I love how it deals so much damage and wiped out so many Pokemon. It was a difficult game because Again, I was still learning how the XP shares work, because most people who play Pokemon now, who play the main game, XP share affects all Pokemon, whereas back in the old days, XP share was an item you give to a Pokemon. So it was learning how to sort of train each Pokemon up individually to get them up, but I loved it. I think my favourite Pokemon for this team would have to be Crocodile. Again, Crocodile was broken. He was strong, he was fast, and being a dark type, I think in Dressing Unova, I think was so important, because you kept versing so many ghost types who would just be one-shotting your Pokemon. And Chandelure, of course, was a late game addition to my team, so it was a very difficult one getting a Chandelure. Because again, I went in blind. I didn't know what Pokemon were available. All I saw was the anime. So a lot of the Pokemon I went for based on what I liked in the anime. And again, Lucario is there because I think you get Riolu quite early on, and it just wasn't this team without Lucario. He was probably the biggest hero in success. Friendship works very different as well. I didn't really understand how friendship worked, so it was quite a fun Pokemon game. I definitely recommend it if anyone has the game or hasn't played it in a while or wants a Pokemon game to play. It's definitely one of my recommendations. It's very fun and a very different challenge to most Pokemon games. Moving over now to Pokemon X. I'm going to sum this up very quickly. Easiest Pokemon game by far. I beat the champion using only Crocodile and Hawlucha. Aegislash was literally there for one battle during the Elite Four, which was the Dragon type gym leader, and the only reason I used Aegislash against the Dragon type gym leader was because it could resist poison type moves. Other than that, Greninja appeared for the Fire type gym. Charizard made one appearance against the Water type gym, which is when I Mega Evolved it and used Dragon Claw. Lucario featured against the Fire types because it used the move Bone Rush and Steel types, but was pretty much very dominated by Crocodile and Hawlucha, which surprisingly were probably the most strongest Pokemon you could have. And I didn't really care about type clashes because this team just rocked Pokemon X. It was, I think Pokemon X, it just felt too easy. It was one of the games which I got through quite quickly. I enjoyed it, but it's definitely one of the games I'm going to leave quickly, short and quick. Very easy. Moving on now to Gen 7. Now, as you can see, there's an Ash Greninja there, and you're probably thinking, that's the Ultra Sun badge. Ash Greninja was only available in Sun and Moon. I did trade Ash Greninja over via Pokemon Bank into my Pokemon Ultra Sun Let's Play. For me, the first big abomination, I'm going to use the word abomination, was Crabominable. Now, I of course played Ultra Sun when it came out, and I pre-ordered it, got it on release day. I saw Crabominable, I didn't know it evolved into that abomination. I saw it about to evolve and I was really excited because I actually thought it's going to be something cool, it's going to be something exciting, and Crabominable came out. My disappointment emulated because he would now be wiped out by the Steel type Elite Four member every single time I ever played, and he ended up getting benched into the box and replaced by a shinier Bomb Snow I call in my post-game Pokemon League rematches. And then we get to 5 hours. By the way, this is the nickname I gave to Gengar. It took me 5 hours to get Gengar. If I had recorded it, you would have realised how annoying and frustrating it was because of how rare it was. In the old supermarket, I think it's the 3rd island of the Ultra Sun game or Lola region. Once you beat the challenge, the Ghost type trial, you then can go back in and try and catch the Pokemon there. One of the Pokemon I found there was Gengar because I wanted a Gengar on a Let's Play team. Not realizing that Gengar was only available via Ally Call. That's it, Ally Call. And I sat for 5 hours knocking out ally spawning Pokemon or the Pokemon that spawned it in, hoping and praying that Gengar would come out. After 5 hours and sitting there with chicken nuggets for my food, I finally was able to get the Gengar and catch it. After 7 Ultra Balls, it continued to be stubborn then. Lycanroc was of course the gift Pokemon in the game view, and I just wanted an Ash Greninja on my team because I loved it in my Sun playthrough, but I could never remember the team I used. Literally, my Sun team playthrough from memory would be Ash Greninja and Lycanroc, because I don't remember if I picked the Decidueye in Sun and Moon or if I used Toucannon or what else. So this was the team I used. Crabrawler, 100% my favourite, until Crabominable came out and ruined everything. Moving on to Gen 8 now. Now Gen 8 probably was an enjoyable experience because again I wanted to do a more focused game where I used more of the Galar region Pokemon. I ended up settling with this team. Sylveon of course being the only non-Galar Pokemon there, and the reason for Sylveon was because it's the region where I fell in love with the Pokemon Sylveon. I always wanted to understand how to get Sylveon, and I maxed out an EV with Friendship, and it instantly became one of my strongest Pokemon. It was amazing to use. I think maybe I should this team as well. Dracovish, I saw in the anime, and I just had to get it. When I saw Ash's Dracovish, I just wanted Dracovish in my Let's Play team. And to be honest, definitely underrated Pokemon. It was strong, it was powerful, and I just loved how broken it was with its vicious friend, and it was very key for me beating the rock type gym. It was key for beating the fighting gym because it just fight attacks were doing no damage to Dracovish. And I'm going to massive shout out as well to Corviknight and Boltund. These two Pokemon were pretty much carriers of the team. They would take a lot of hits and dish out a lot more damage. And a lot of people have already said the worst starter trio were the Galar. I would disagree, in my personal opinion. I loved it until, of course, the Pokemon I picked. I just loved its design, I loved its move Snipe Shot, and I loved its Gigantamax form it got from the DLC. Not really much to say about this really. I thought again, Sword was again another easy game. Not as easy as X, but definitely an easy game. Moving over now to my final 2 playthroughs, which is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, my most recent playthroughs. Pokemon Violet team, as you can see, again, I think Paldea for me, the thing it lacked was good Pokemon. It had probably about the starters and maybe a couple more in the legendaries, but other than that, it very lacked a lot in looking Pokemon or usable Pokemon. Simply because I just thought the main Pokemon they added back in was stronger. If they went down the Unova route in the original Unova games where they mainly use Unova Pokemon, I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much. But this team was amazing. Of course, being the idiot that I am, decided to go off the books, and I ended up pushing down the gym path side, doing the bug type gym, and then decided to pursue my way down that side until I got to a level 42 Titan Pokemon, somehow beat it with the luck on my side with Arven's help, the trainer that you do your Titan stuff with, which was very fortunate, and I ended up realising the actual path I was supposed to do, but did everything very wrong during that playthrough. I had a lot of times per Pokemon fainted. But one of the things I loved was the fact I didn't know which starter we were going to evolve. I ended up using the fire type Pokemon because again I wanted something a bit different. It's not constantly picking the water type starter. And when I heard that it's one of the usual went Fire Ghost, I wanted it. Especially as much as I love Chandelure, and my disappointment I found out that when Ceruledge was there, I wish I did get Ceruledge instead, and it was, it's sad because I love Ceruledge. It's always one of my favourite Pokemon. I use post game. It's annoying that he had a type clash with the Fire Ghost. I thought having 2 Fire Ghost types in the same team would just be a bit too much for me. Again, massive shout outs to Floatzel and Pawmot Floatzel to start with, again, I love Floatzel as a water type specialist. I'll class myself as. I love it move Wave Crash, and it got an array of ice type moves as well with an Ice Fang. It just made it so much better. I thought it was a very cool looking Pokemon as well. As you can see, a lot of the Pokemon as well, as you can see, 3 of them are from my Sinnoh playthrough. Glalie was a Pokemon I used in my post-game team of Hoenn, and then Pawmot is just really cute and adorable, and I wanted it on the team when I saw its picture, and I did the 1000 steps with Pawmo, I think it's called. I think it's Pawmi, Pawmo, Pawmot. Don't count my word for it, but I loved it. Continuing on, welcome to Pokemon Scarlet. This was my Let's Play team I used for Pokemon Scarlet. Now, there was a bit of an error, of course, if you might have seen. I just had to retake this because my audio decided to chop off this part, so I've had to redo this part. But this was the team I used. Again, as you can see, I ended up going down a very different route than my usual team. Azumarill was in there, I had a Talonflame in there, so it was a very different team. Talonflame I nicknamed Falling Feather because, or Featherfall or something like that, because every time it was brought out, it was taken out. It had some damage, it helped out a lot, but it was always taken out. I mainly use Talonflame now for breeding, and so I can just then get perfect IV and EV Pokemon. But Azumarill is definitely why I made Azumarill the biggest picture here, was simply because it was so strong. It carried this team. It was tanky, it was bulky, it was powerful, and it basically swept the Elite floor, which I think again was quite difficult. And in the champion, I was a walk in the park. Meowscarada, no offense, but I preferred its mid-evolution. I don't understand why they gave it some Catwoman type mask. For me, it just I thought it looked so cool, and then it gave it that. But again, I still use it, I still love it. And then the cringe-worthy addition of this team was Annihilape. Now, I didn't realise Primeape had an evolution, and I saw again the move Rage Fist, and I ended up using Rage Fist quite a lot. Evolving to Annihilape, and then I heard the sound of a tree breaking, bone breaking every time it made a move or it came out, and I just shivered. It was creepy as hell. But aside from that, this is all my Let's Play teams. Now, I really hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope it's something different. I hope it's something you may like. As I said from the beginning, if you have any suggestions for Pokemon Let's Plays, please let me know. I would love to do a Let's Play if you want to see it. Is there anything else you want to see in the video? If you want to see something different in Pokemon Academy, if you want to see with a twist, if you're liking it, please leave a comment, leave a like, and subscribe if you are new or haven't subscribed yet. It would mean the world to me. It will help this channel grow, and it means the world if you do see this video to the very end. If you just want to see a few teams, that's fine by me. But a massive thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time for episode 4 of Pokemon Academy.